12 nations, the best sniper teams each country could field, gathered at a single location for the most prestigious precision shooting competition in the NATO alliance. Every participating nation sent their finest marksmen, soldiers who had been selected from thousands of candidates and trained for years to achieve the impossible shots that ordinary soldiers cannot make. The competition would test every dimension of sniper capability: marksmanship at extreme ranges, stalking through terrain designed to expose the slightest error, target identification under pressure, shooting after physical exhaustion. Every element that separates elite snipers from competent marksmen would be evaluated and scored. When the final results were tallied, what the British snipers had accomplished was so far beyond what anyone expected that the word legendary barely captures it. They did not merely win. They dominated in ways that rewrote assumptions about what was possible. Competitors from other nations studied the British scores and concluded there had been calculation errors. There had not been. What the British snipers did was real, and it shocked everyone present. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what happened at this competition, why British snipers achieved what no other nation could approach, and what their legendary performance reveals about how the British military has perfected the art of precision killing. The competition was the NATO International Sniper Competition, held at a military training facility specifically designed to test sniper capabilities across every relevant dimension. The participating nations represented the full range of NATO military cultures. The United States sent teams from both Army and Marine Corps sniper programs. Germany sent Bundeswehr snipers with their legendary precision engineering tradition. France, Italy, Canada, Poland, Norway, Denmark, Netherlands, Spain, Belgium, and of course, the United Kingdom. Each nation selected its best. Each nation expected its representatives to demonstrate national excellence. The competitive stakes extended beyond individual pride to institutional reputation. Let me explain what sniper competition at this level actually tests, because understanding the challenge illuminates why the British performance was so extraordinary. The marksmanship phase tests precision shooting at ranges from 300 meters to beyond 1,400 meters. At extreme ranges, a bullet drop can exceed several meters. Wind drift can move a projectile by similar margins. Temperature, humidity, and altitude affect ballistic calculations. The shooter must integrate all these variables and place rounds within scoring zones, measured in centimeters at distances measured in kilometers. One mistake in calculation produces a miss. There is no partial credit for being close. The stalking phase tests the ability to approach a target without being detected. Sniper teams must move across open terrain, while observers with optical devices attempt to locate them. Any confirmed detection terminates the stalk. The terrain is deliberately designed to offer minimal concealment. Success requires movement, discipline perfected over thousands of training hours. The margin between detection and invisibility is measured in the angle of a shadow or the pace of movement that attracts observer attention. The unknown distance phase tests range estimation without technological aids. Snipers must identify target range using only visual assessment and experience. Errors in range estimation produce misses because holdover calculations depend on accurate distance knowledge. The targets are positioned at ranges deliberately selected to challenge estimation accuracy. The stress shooting phase tests marksmanship following physical exhaustion. Sniper teams complete demanding physical challenges and then immediately engage targets. Elevated heart rate degrades precision. Fatigued muscles introduce tremor. The test evaluates who can maintain accuracy when their body is fighting against the steadiness precision requires. The observation and reporting phase tests the intelligence function that snipers perform beyond shooting. Teams must observe designated areas and report everything of tactical significance. Missed observations lose points. False reports lose points. The test evaluates the comprehensive awareness that elite snipers develop through training. Each phase carries scoring weight. Total competition ranking reflects performance across all phases. Excellence in one dimension cannot compensate for deficiency in another. The competition demands complete sniper capability. If you are finding this analysis valuable and want to understand what truly creates military excellence, subscribe right now. Next week, I am covering why certain NATO forces maintain selection standards that others consider impossible to achieve. But right now, let me tell you what happened when the British snipers began the competition, because the pattern that would become legendary established itself immediately. The British team that arrived for this competition came from the British Army's sniper community, specifically trained at the Infantry Battle School in Brecon. British sniper training is considered among the most demanding in the world. The course extends significantly longer than most Allied equivalents. Attrition rates exceed 70%. Standards are absolute. Graduates have demonstrated capability at levels that their training pipeline was specifically designed to produce. The soldiers who represented Britain at this competition were not selected by chance. They were the product of a deliberate system designed to identify and develop the most capable precision marksmen in the British Army. Their selection from an already elite community meant they represented the absolute peak of British sniper capability. The marksmanship phase began on day 1. Each team engaged targets at progressively increasing ranges under conditions that challenged every aspect of shooting discipline. Wind flags indicated surface conditions, but snipers had to read conditions at the target, hundreds of meters away where wind might differ completely. The firing positions offered minimal support, requiring shooters to create stable platforms from their bodies rather than relying on prepared positions. The British shooters demonstrated something that observers from other nations noticed immediately. Their shot-to-shot consistency was remarkable. Other teams showed variance as conditions changed or as distances increased. The British maintained groupings that suggested conditions had no effect on their shooting. This was not luck. This was training so extensive that adaptation to conditions had become automatic rather than conscious. At the extreme ranges that separated good teams from exceptional teams, the British continued performing while other teams began struggling. Targets at 1,300 and 1,400 meters that produced scattered results for most teams produced center hits for the British. Their ballistic calculations were precise. Their wind reading was accurate. Their trigger control was perfect. Every variable that accumulates to produce misses at extreme range was managed with precision that seemed almost mechanical. The marksmanship phase concluded with the British holding a lead that other teams found demoralizing. The gap was not the few points that typically separate competitors. The gap was substantial enough that catching the British would require perfect performance. In remaining phases combined with British failure, neither seemed likely. The stalking phase began on day 2. This phase challenges a different dimension of sniper capability. Shooting requires precision. Stalking requires patience. The ability to move across terrain without detection tests mental discipline as much as physical technique. Sniper teams must suppress every instinct that produces detectable movement. They must become part of the terrain rather than figures moving through it. The competition stalking course was deliberately designed to challenge the best snipers in NATO. Observation posts were positioned to cover approaches from multiple angles. The terrain offered concealment options, but all options carried risk of exposure if approached incorrectly. Teams had limited time to complete their stalks and engage targets. Time pressure fought against the patience that successful stalking requires. Other nations' teams produced mixed results. Some completed stalks successfully. Others were detected by observers whose vigilance never relaxed. The detection rate across non-British teams was approximately 40%, meaning 4 in 10 attempts ended in failure before the shooter could engage. The British detection rate was 0. Every British stalk concluded with a successful engagement. No observer detected British movement despite actively searching with optical devices for any indication of approach. The British teams might as well have been ghosts moving through the terrain. Let me explain what zero detection means in practical terms. The observers were experienced personnel, specifically trained to detect sniper movement. They had optics that revealed detail invisible to the naked eye. They knew snipers were approaching and actively searched for them, and they found nothing. The British moved through terrain designed to expose mistakes and made no mistakes that could be found. This performance reflected training that goes beyond what most nations invest in sniper development. British sniper training includes extensive stalking practice across varied terrain under conditions designed to develop near-perfect movement discipline. Students who are detected fail. The consequence of failure creates pressure that mimics operational stakes. By the time snipers complete training, successful stalking has become so ingrained that detection becomes nearly impossible. The unknown distance phase tested another capability that separates elite snipers from competent marksmen. Without laser rangefinders, snipers must estimate distance using visual reference and experience. This skill requires thousands of repetitions to develop. There are no shortcuts. Either you have trained extensively at range estimation or you have not. The competition would reveal who had target distances in this phase ranged from 300 meters to over 1,000 meters. At shorter ranges, most teams achieved reasonable accuracy. The width of acceptable error is larger when the distance is shorter. As distances increased, estimation errors became misses. Teams that had not trained extensively at long-range estimation without aids began accumulating misses that dropped their scores. The British continued hitting. Their range estimation at 700 meters was accurate. At 800 meters, accurate. At 900 and beyond, still accurate. Where other teams showed degradation in hit rates as distances increased. The British maintained performance levels that suggested the difficulty was not increasing for them. The explanation is training volume. British sniper training includes extensive range estimation practice without technological aids. Students develop intuitive understanding of how targets appear at various distances. This intuition is not natural. It is built through repetition that most training programs do not provide. The competition revealed who had done this training and who had not. The stress shooting phase would test whether British precision could survive physical exhaustion. This phase is specifically designed to challenge snipers under conditions that degrade shooting fundamentals. Teams complete physical challenges that elevate heart rate and introduce fatigue. Then they shoot the combination tests, who can maintain discipline when their body is working against them. The physical challenge was demanding. A loaded movement followed by obstacle negotiation followed by casualty drag simulation. By the time teams reached their firing positions, heart rates were elevated significantly. Breathing was heavy. Muscles that needed to be steady were fatigued. These conditions fight against precision. The test evaluates who wins that fight. Many teams showed significant degradation in accuracy during stress shooting. Shots that would have hit under calm conditions missed under stress. The physiological effects of exhaustion on fine motor control are well documented. Elevated heart rate produces tremor. Fatigued muscles cannot maintain position stability. Teams that had not specifically trained for stress shooting showed the effects of not training. The British showed almost no degradation. Their stress shooting scores approached their unstressed marksmanship scores. The physical challenge had clearly affected them. They were breathing hard, they were fatigued, but when they settled behind their rifles, the effects disappeared. Their shooting remained as precise as if they were fresh. This capability reflects specific training that most programs do not emphasize equally. British sniper training includes shooting following physical exertion as a routine training activity. Students learn to manage elevated heart rate and fatigued muscles. They develop breathing techniques that accelerate recovery to shooting readiness. They practice until shooting under stress becomes as normal as shooting while rested. The observation and reporting phase tested the intelligence function that snipers perform. Beyond shooting, snipers are reconnaissance assets. They observe and report. Their observations provide intelligence that shapes tactical decisions. This capability requires attention to detail that most people cannot sustain under operational conditions. Teams observed designated areas and submitted reports documenting everything of tactical significance: vehicles, personnel, equipment, movement patterns, any detail that a tactical commander might need. Observers scored reports for completeness and accuracy. Missed details lost points. False reports lost points. The phase evaluated comprehensive awareness. The British reports were described by observers as exceptional. Details that other teams missed were documented. Patterns that other teams did not identify were analyzed. The reports read like the products of much longer observation periods. The British teams had seen more, understood more, and reported more than their competitors. This capability reflects the comprehensive nature of British sniper training. Shooting is only one dimension of sniper capability. Observation is trained with equal rigor. Students develop attention skills that allow them to process visual information at rates that untrained observers cannot achieve. The competition revealed this training difference as clearly as it revealed the shooting difference. When all phases were complete and scores were calculated, the British team had achieved something that competitors struggled to believe. Their margin of victory exceeded anything in the competition's history. They had won every phase, not performed well. Won every single phase showed British dominance over Allied teams that were themselves elite by their national standards. The second-place team finished so far behind the British that the gap between second and last place was smaller than the gap between first and second. The British had not merely outperformed, they had established a category of performance that no other team approached. Let me share perspectives from participants because their reactions illuminate what the results meant to those who witnessed them. A U.S. Army sniper team leader, who finished in the top third of the competition, described his reaction to the British performance. He said his team had trained specifically for this competition for months. They arrived believing they had a chance to win. When they saw British scores after the first phase, they realized they were competing for second place. The British were operating at a level his team could not approach regardless of how well they performed. He continued by describing specific observations of British technique. He said their shooting was the most consistent he had ever witnessed. Not the occasional exceptional shot, but sustained excellence across hundreds of rounds. Their fundamentals were perfect. Their adaptation to conditions was instant. They did not seem to be calculating. They seemed to know intuitively what was required. This level of performance comes only from training volume that most programs cannot provide. A German Bundeswehr sniper sergeant offered technical perspective on British performance. German precision engineering traditions produce excellent sniper systems and excellent training. German teams expected competitive performance. The British results forced reconsideration of what German training was actually producing. He noted that German training emphasizes technical perfection. Every aspect of shooting is analyzed and optimized. This produces excellent snipers. The British seemed to have moved beyond technical perfection to something else. Their shooting was so ingrained that technique had become invisible. They were not applying technique, they were simply shooting. This level of integration between shooter and system comes from training that transcends normal parameters. A British sniper who participated in the competition offered perspective from the winning side. He downplayed the achievement in ways characteristic of British military culture. He said the competition was a good test and his team was fortunate to perform well. When pressed about the margin of victory, he attributed it to excellent training at Brecon and the quality of his teammates. He did not claim individual exceptional ability. He credited the system that had produced him. This attribution to system rather than individual is itself significant. British military culture emphasizes institution over individual. The sniper acknowledged that his performance was the product of training rather than innate talent. This perspective reflects how British training is designed. The system produces capability. Individuals who complete the system possess that capability. The excellence is replicable because it is systemic rather than dependent on exceptional individuals. The competition aftermath produced extensive analysis across participating nations. Military planners examined British performance to understand how it was achieved. Several factors were identified that explained the gap between British performance and Allied performance. The first factor was training duration. British sniper training extends significantly longer than most Allied programs. The additional time allows more repetitions of fundamental skills. More repetitions produce deeper, ingrained capability. The competition revealed that this additional training time translates directly to performance advantage. The second factor was training realism. British sniper training includes conditions that replicate operational stress. Students shoot under time pressure, after physical exertion, in adverse weather, at unknown distances. The training prepares them for exactly what the competition tested. Programs that train under more controlled conditions produce snipers who perform well under controlled conditions but less well under competition stress. The third factor was attrition standards. British sniper training fails students who do not meet standards. There is no adjustment of standards to ensure adequate graduation numbers. Students either achieve required levels or they do not complete the course. This produces smaller numbers of snipers but ensures every graduate meets demanding capability thresholds. The fourth factor was institutional emphasis on snipers. The British Army treats snipers as a strategic asset, warranting significant investment. Training resources, equipment quality, and career development reflect this emphasis. Nations that treat snipers as a secondary capability invest less and produce less. The fifth factor was shooting culture. Marksmanship has deep roots in British military tradition. Shooting competitions within the British military are prestigious events. This cultural emphasis on precision shooting produces soldiers who arrive at sniper training with foundational skills that accelerate advanced development. These factors combine to produce the capability gap the competition demonstrated. No single factor explains British dominance. The combination does. British snipers are products of comprehensive investment in their development. Competitions measure the results of that investment. If you found this analysis valuable, subscribe now and hit the notification bell. Next week, I am covering the most extreme selection processes in global special operations and revealing which nations demand standards that others consider impossible to achieve. The week after that, I am examining a case where competition results surprised everyone in different ways. Drop your comments below. Tell me about your own experiences with competitive shooting if you have served. Tell me whether you believe marksmanship competitions reveal genuine operational capability or whether competition skills differ from combat skills. These perspectives matter because this debate continues in professional military circles. If you learned something from this video, share it with someone who appreciates understanding military excellence. Not the movie version, where heroes emerge through dramatic moments, but the systematic version, where training programs produce predictable capability that competitions can measure. The British snipers who won this competition were not born exceptional. They were trained exceptional. The training system that produced them is replicable. Any nation willing to invest equivalent resources in sniper development could produce equivalent results. The British have made this investment. The competition demonstrated the return on that investment. The legendary performance at this competition was not an accident. It was not luck. It was the predictable outcome of deliberate preparation meeting the demands the competition was designed to test. British snipers were better because British sniper training is better. Better in duration, better in realism, better in standards, better in institutional emphasis. The competition measured these better dimensions and produced results that reflected them. What the British did was legendary because it exceeded what competitors believed was possible. But from the British perspective, it was simply what their training had prepared them to do. They performed as trained. The performance looked legendary only because training had set expectations that other systems had not equally developed. This is the nature of military excellence. It looks exceptional from outside the system that produces it. From inside the system, it is simply the normal outcome of normal training. British snipers achieved legendary performance by British standards. What made it legendary to others was that British standards exceed what others considered achievable. The 12 nations that competed learned something valuable from the experience. They learned where British capability actually stood relative to their own. They learned what investment produces what results. They learned that their assumptions about national sniper capability were not accurate. The competition produced information that allows informed decisions about training investment. Some nations have subsequently examined whether to modify their sniper programs based on British practices. The details of these modifications remain largely internal to the nations involved. What can be said is that the competition produced learning that extends beyond the nations that participated. The results have been studied worldwide by military professionals seeking to understand what exceptional sniper performance looks like and how it is produced. The British snipers who created this legendary performance returned to their normal duties. They did not become celebrities or permanent competition representatives. They returned to training and operational preparation. The performance at the competition was one event in careers dedicated to developing and maintaining the capability the competition had measured. This perspective is important because it frames what competitions actually accomplish. They provide data points about capability at specific moments. The capability itself continues developing through ongoing training. The British snipers who won this competition have continued training since. Their capability has likely increased. Other nation snipers have also continued training. Capability gaps may have narrowed or widened depending on subsequent investment. What remains constant is the principle that training determines capability. The British demonstrated capability that their training produced. Other nations demonstrated capability that their training produced. The gaps were not individual. They were systemic. Systems that invest more produce more. The competition demonstrated this principle with data that could not be disputed. Until next time, remember that legendary performance is not magical. It is the product of training that produces exceptional capability. The British snipers who dominated this competition were products of their training system. Their individual excellence was real, but it was made possible by institutional investment that created them. Understanding this allows appreciation of what they accomplished, while recognizing that such accomplishment is achievable by others willing to make equivalent investment. The British snipers versus 12 countries at NATO competition. What they did was legendary. But the legend was written not at the competition, but in the years of training that preceded it. The competition merely revealed what training had already created. The legendary performance was the culmination of institutional commitment to sniper excellence that the competition measured but did not create. That commitment continues. British sniper training continues, producing excellent snipers. The competition was one demonstration of that excellence. There will be others, and as long as British commitment to sniper development continues, British performance will continue justifying the legendary reputation that this competition established. 12 nations sent their best. Britain sent snipers. What they did was legendary because what they trained was legendary. The training made the performance possible. The performance made the training visible. Both deserve recognition. Both reveal what military excellence actually means when measured against the best the world has to offer.